Hey, you think it's tough having to obey stay-home orders and social distancing? Just imagine living under curfew every day, indefinitely. Hello, my name is Angela Peabody, and I want to share with you my experiences when my family and I faced a crisis of terror. It was April 1980 when my family's home came under siege. A coup d'etat, a military coup d'etat or overthrow of the Liberian government occurred on the night of April 12, 1980, and my family's home came under siege 2 days later when they came to my brother-in-law's house to arrest him because he was, as they put it, a security risk to the new government. We were held at machine gun point for hours and terrorized in the house, my family and I. They shot up the house with machine gun fire for 25 minutes without stop, and then they entered the house and proceeded to terrorize us for hours. We were held under siege, like I said, for hours. They terrorized us at gunpoint, machine gun point, and said they were going to kill us. They were going to wipe us out. Fortunately, one of the rebel soldiers recognized my husband, and he happened to be a fan of my husband's radio show. So he decided that they were not going to kill us. But it didn't stop them from terrorizing us for hours, eating all of our food, raiding the closets, taking whatever alcohol was there so they could drink it themselves. And we remained in the house for days without going out. We were too terrified. And then they imposed a curfew for everyone in the country. You couldn't leave your home. You couldn't go, there was no grocery stores to go shopping. There was nothing you could go, post office or banks open, there was nothing. Everything was closed. So whatever food you were caught with in the home, that's what you had to live off. There was no way to go out and buy food and buy groceries. But we were housebound for days and days, indefinitely, and days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months, until we finally were able to leave Liberia and come to the United States for refuge. So what I'm just reflecting back to 1980 and the experiences that my family and I went through, and now we're in April 2020, 40 years later, and we're again housebound, but it's not compared to what we went through in 1980. We have grocery stores that are open. We have people who can deliver your groceries to you. We have banks open and you can go and do your financial transactions. You can go to the post office and still send your mailings out. There's life. We have life. during this shutdown and during the social distancing. And the one thing that we did not have in Liberia in 1980 was technology. We had no computers at the time. We There were no cell phones, no mobile phones. We only had landlines. And those of us who had landlines, we were skeptical about using them to call family members because we were not sure what was being tapped into, what the rebels knew and what they didn't know, and whether they would come back the next day to terrorize us. Every day we lived in terror because we didn't know when they would show up. And after that dreadful day of shooting up the house with us in it for 25 minutes and terrorizing us, they did come back. They did return. They returned the very next morning while we were still in our sleeping clothes. They returned looking for money, trying to bribe us, and we had to give them money. So every day it was living in terror. But I'm just comparing it to now to ease your minds and let you know that's why I'm doing this video, so you can know that this situation we are in because of COVID-19 is not the end of the world. It's not the worst situation that one could ever encounter, because what we experienced in 1980 was a life and death situation. And what I can compare it to is that COVID-19 is like a coup d'etat in a way, because it is the only thing it's doing is killing people. It's terrorizing people because people are afraid to go out. People are afraid to socialize. People are terrified. Even essential workers, they are terrified to be exposed to COVID-19. So the same kind of terror, it's very similar. But I just want to ease your minds and let you know that the situation we're going through today could be much worse than what we went through in 1980. And the Liberians who are alive today, who survived the coup d'etat like my family and I did, they can attest to what I'm saying. They can relate to it, and I'm sure some of them are feeling the same way that I'm feeling, that this is not the worst case scenario. This is not the worst case in the world, what we're going through, because we went through worse. We went through a civil war, some of the Liberians, and we went through one of Africa's bloodiest military overthrow, which is the coup d'etat that occurred in April 1980, where they had major executions. So I just want to ease your mind and compare it and let you know that, yes, we will get through this COVID-19 dilemma, and we will get through it together, because collectively we will stand, and divided we will fall. And I truly believe that we will get through it. It will pass like everything else, like the coup d'etat in Liberia in 1980, that passed. It took many years. It destroyed the infrastructure of Liberia that has not been able to be restored. Even 40 years later, we are still looking at some of the ruins of that dreadful April in 1980. However, hopefully there's not going to be any infrastructure that will be destroyed due to COVID-19. So I'm just telling you that, ease your minds, and we have technology. Let's get back to technology. we who are shut in and don't go out, especially the children, they have all kinds of video games to play. They have at the time of what we went through in 1980, we had books to read, which is not bad. It's not a bad thing. But we had books to read and barely television. We relied suddenly on what the television was saying, was telling us. It was watching television, my sister and I, when we watched the executions. We didn't see it exactly happening, but we knew that it was happening because the news came on suddenly. It got totally dark outside, like it was going to have a thunderstorm.